without using any code. We will be using Bubble as a no-code platform, and of course we will be using the large language models GPT 3.5 and 4, and some other stuff as well. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben. Here we build products without using code, and we're focusing on building AI-enabled products, and we're using Bubble primarily, and of course the large language models, specifically the OpenAI's language models, with an emphasis on GPT-4. If it should be the case that you or anyone you know are looking to build your own product or products or MVP, you can head out over to avalanlabs.co. But today, the focus is on building a chat with PDF app without code. Now, of course, this is all the rage, and I've heard some people say this is the hello world equivalent in the AI era. Not sure I agree with that. Maybe it's the case, maybe it isn't. Anyway, I think you should be able to build a chat with PDF app to really lean into building with AI and get a feel for what is possible, because the concepts that we're going to be using to build a chat with PDF apps are very generalizable in building with AI and sort of the tech stack that we're going to use. So let's take it in a more generalized step. A chat with PDF app is commonly referred to at this point as a RAG application. So most AI applications are some form of RAG application. Now RAG, it's just a fancy way of saying retrieval augmented generation, or I should say the retrieval augmented generation is a fancy way of saying that we are retrieving some data from some place, and we are using what we're retrieving to come up with some form of response. So for example, we fetch context from a database and we feed that context into a large language model like GPT-4, for example, and with instructions on how to generate the output. So this is all that retrieval augmented generation means. It just means that we put stuff in the context from some place that we have retrieved based on some input. So that is all that means, and that is what we're going to do. So what we will need to build our chat with PDF app today is a couple of things. We're going to need Bubble, so a Bubble account. We're going to need the OpenAI models, so OpenAI and API keys and access. We're going to need a vector database, a place to store information. There's a bunch out there. Today we're going to be using one called Pinecone. And then we're going to be using a tool called LangChain or LangFlow. And what LangChain is sort of an abstraction on top of the OpenAI or AI large language models. They have built some modules and some tools so that you can start building from, you don't have to build from scratch, but they have actually abstracted a lot of the functionalities. And LangFlow is a visual implementation of LangChain, so we will actually be able to use LangChain without writing any code. I'll show you how in a second. But first, let's dive into how this actually works, because when we know how this works, we can build almost anything, right? So how this works is that we are going to be using a PDF, so chat with PDF tool. But having said that, in theory, we could use any data source. It could be a PDF, it could be a URL, it could be a CSV file, it could be a text file, it could be anything. But today we're going to be using a PDF. So how this is going to work is that we're going to take a PDF, we're going to split that PDF into chunks. The reason we do this is because, of course, with the large language models, we are limited by the context window. So we need to be able to split large amounts of text or data so that we can work with them more dynamically. So we're going to split the PDF into chunks. Then we're going to convert or transform those chunks of text, in our case, into vectors. Now for this, we're going to be using OpenAI's ADA model. Now what a vector is just a numerical representation of the data or the text in our chunks. And this means that we can store a lot of data in a very small format because it's compressed to such a large degree. And then we're going to store these chunks, which again are just numerical representations of the text we've just splitted our PDF into, and we're going to store them in a vector database. In our case, this vector database is called Pinecone. And what a vector database allows us to do, it allows us to search among all the things we put into it. And it allows us to also get the most similar results to our search. So it's like a similarity search. So if I search for apple, maybe I get a lot of other fruits, but I'm going to get the fruits most similar to apple. I'm not sure if that's a good example, but that's sort of how I think about it. And then what's going to happen is that in our interface, which we are going to serve on Bubble, a user is going to ask a question on this PDF. And what we will do at that point is we're going to take the question, like the actual string of text, and we're going to turn that into a vector as well using OpenAI's ADA model. So now we have a numerical representation of the question as well. And then we're going to search our vector database with that numerical representation of the question to see, okay, based on this question, what pieces from our database are most similar to what we just asked. And we will be able to decide how many pieces do we want to retrieve or get back. So that is called K. So for example, we can take the 10 most similar results or chunks from our database. And this is where the retrieval from the RAG, retrieval augmented generation, comes from. It just means we get stuff from the database or someplace. And then we're going to take those results. So now we have a user asked something. We've taken the 10 most similar results or chunks from our database. And again, these are chunks from our PDF. So imagine we have like a 100-page PDF, and there are 10 chapters, and one chapter is about pricing, and we ask something about pricing. Now, very likely, the 10 chunks we're going to get for our question will be from the pricing chapter, but depending on what we're asking from the pricing chapter, it might pull different pieces, but that's sort of how to visualize it. And then we're going to take the text from these K, in our case, 10 most similar results, and we're going to use them, the text, as a prompt to GPT 3.5 or 4 or whatever with instructions. And we're going to generate a response. So this is the generate part of retrieval augmented generation. So again, we feed stuff into a database, we pull stuff out from the database, we use that stuff we pulled out to get an answer, and we generate that answer. So retrieval augmented generation. Now, this is how most, if not all, RAG applications work. We have some data, we chunk that data, we retrieve that data in some way with some rules maybe, and then we use that plus instructions to generate some form of output or response. And I think building a chat with PDF app is a great way to get started with these type of workflows. Now, diving deeper, and this is the same step by step, we are going to split into PDF, turn into vectors, store in vector database. That's like one chunk of work. For that, we're going to use LangChain and a implementation of LangChain called LangFlow, which is a drag and drop, and we'll get to that in a second. And we're going to build a flow for upserting a document. And then user is going to ask a question. This is going to be served on Bubble. And then we're going to do the second step of the flow, which is turn the question into a vector, search the vector database with that question, get the K most similar results, and then feed that back into GPT 3.4, 3.5 or 4 with some instructions. And then we're going to have a response. And the front end for this will be Bubble. So if this isn't clear, you can always check out, maybe Pinecone's documentation. You can search around on YouTube. But to me, this is sort of how this is a good representation of how it works. So yeah, feel free to pause here if you want to sort of draw this down for yourself, like the flow. But I think it's going to be pretty clear when we're done here. But this is essentially how it works. So with that said, let's go straight into this flow. And we're going to start by building the upsert document part here. And for that, we need LangFlow. So just search for LangFlow. And you'll pretty soon get to this GitHub page. Then you can deploy this on Railway or Render or some other deployment platform. I suggest you just get started right away, deploy on Render, make an account on Render, and you'll have this deployed, and you'll be able to go into LangFlow, which again is a visual implementation of LangChain. I understand this might be confusing, but I think it's going to be clear enough to be actionable. Here we are inside LangFlow, and as you can see, we already have a number of flows set up here. These are things I've done before. There's also a great many community examples where we can just fork them, look into them and see how it's built and use them as inspiration, or just use them as they are. So moving back into here, we have two sections that we're going to build. One is the upserting of a document, which is covering splitting into PDF, storing in a vector database. The second is querying the database. So a question is asked, turn that question into a vector, get responses, use responses to get a result. So here is the first part of that, which is upserting a document. So here we can see that we have a PDF loader. So we load a PDF, then we recursively chunk the characters of this PDF into chunk sizes of, and this is a variable, but in this case 2,500 characters. We then store these into Pinecone, but before we do that, we also turn them into vectors, of course, to be able to store them into Pinecone, and for that we use OpenAI embeddings model. And that's the first part here, upserting a document. Now for this flow, and to illustrate and show how it works, we also have a retrieval and a combined docs chain, which is essentially just structuring our responses, structuring the k-most similar results, and then we have OpenAI to generate the response. So now we can test this flow to see if it works. But of course, to be able to do this, you need to add a PDF loader, a recursive character splitter, and a Pinecone. So you need a Pinecone account, and you need to be able to reference an index at least, and an environment. So go to Pinecone, set up a free account, create an index. You can use, so when you create an index, you need to select dimensions of the vectors. I suggest just going with 1536, so 1536 dimensions, and you will be able to have an index. Inside indexes, there are also namespaces. I think of namespaces sort of like folders, and inside namespaces, there are another concept called documents. So I think of it like Google Drive. I have like a drive, and or maybe a shared drive, and inside a drive, I have a number of folders, namespaces in Pinecone. Inside a folder, I have documents, also documents in Pinecone. So I can reference all these things when I ask things from the database. Like I can reference a namespace and a document specifically, or a lot of documents in a namespace. So these are useful filters, if you'd like, or variables to then use later on. So when you have that set up, go into settings, find your API keys, and put them in here, and then you will be able to use this flow. Now when we've done all this, and there's a community example similar to this, so you can duplicate that, or you can just pause the video here and just do exactly what is here if you'd like. Then click save, and don't forget to upload a document. I've uploaded a document on pricing SaaS products. I can click this to test the flow and see if it's running like I hope it is. Takes a second to load here. All right, it's loaded. Now I can test this with the chat functionality here. And the reason that chat works now is that we have a retrieval and a OpenAI generation here. So we actually, in this flow, we have the entire flow here, because we also have the querying of the database. It's this retrieval and the generation. But when we're building with Bubble, we're gonna separate it into two. So we're gonna upsert a document or upload a PDF in one instance, but maybe we wanna ask questions later on. So we wanna have an instance uploaded and ask later on, so we need to separate it. Anyway, let's see if this works, and let's ask, how should I price a SaaS? It's now retrieving and generating a response. Okay, the best pricing strategy for SaaS is value-based pricing. You should find out how much your customers are willing to pay, yada yada. This is based on the PDF that I uploaded. So, okay, proof of concept works. And here we're using TextDaVinci 0.3, I was about to say, but yeah, 3, TextDaVinci 3. Okay, so now we have this first part. So how do we actually take what we've built now and put it into Bubble? Well, for this, what's great is that this works as an API endpoint. So I can actually call this workflow from Bubble. So we're going to start by doing that. And again, I want to emphasize that this is the upserting document part. So we will use this to upload a document and put it into Pinecone. And then we will use a different flow to ask questions on what's been asked in to ask questions on what's in Pinecone. But first of all, let's make sure that we can upload a PDF. So if we click this code example, we will be able to see the endpoint and what we need to do in Bubble. So here we are inside Bubble. I've made a new page called Building Rag. Now let's go into plugins and go to our API connector. I am going to be adding an API call. So add another API, and I'm going to say LangFlow tutorial. And this one, first one is going to be called upsert PDF, let's say. And here we can start building out our endpoint. We see that it's an application JSON. So we have application JSON, content type. So these are the headers. You can see the age here. This means header. It's laggy for some reason. Oh, where am I? Okay, content type. What else? We have D stands for data. So we have inputs, PDF loader, a bunch of different things. Now we're going to be building out the JSON body. So if we go back to LangFlow, we can see that D stands for data. We're going to copy this whole thing. Copy and just paste that here. We're going to change input into query. Oops, query. And I'm going to say query. And then for the PDF loader, we need a, let's see, we need what? We need a file path and metadata, okay? So we need a file path, file path, try to spell correctly. And that is gonna be a file path. And then we need metadata as well. So metadata, and we're gonna say doc name. We can send the Pinecone. Doc name. Doc name. Close that out. Then recursive character splitter, embeddings, so on. We can leave those blank. For Pinecone though, we want to send namespace. Namespace. I think that's it. All right, so now we have a number of dynamic values here. I'm going to uncheck the private, which means we can later on edit these and send what we like in the Bubble workflow. Now the file path here, we need a URL to a PDF. I have uploaded this PDF we used, SaaS pricing strategy. I'm going to grab the URL. I'm going to drop it in the file path, and then I'm going to initialize this call, and hopefully it'll work. It will not work. Okay, what is wrong? Tweaks, file path. We're missing a bracket maybe. What else? Do we need a doc name? We need a comma also. Okay, there we go. So it was a comma here. Always in the details, right? We initialize the call, and I'm gonna do show raw data. So you see, so page content. So here is a chunk we're pulling. another chunk, another chunk, and so on. So now you can see that we get these results, and if we go back to the workflow, we are now looking at the retrieval examples. So we're pulling up a number of chunks that we retrieve from the database, and this is what they look like. They have a content. In this case, the metadata is doc name, page, and some source, and the doc name is null because I didn't enter anything into that box. And yeah, that's it. So we know that this endpoint works. We're gonna save this. Okay. And we're also gonna add a button in Bubble to be able to upload a PDF. So I am going to say upload, no, file uploader, yes, file uploader. Here, file uploader A, sure. Let's make it less ugly. Okay, let's say this is, I don't know, 24 maybe. Click to upload a file, no, too big, 18. And let's do it like that. Sure, you can put it in the middle maybe. Let's not do fixed, let's do like a column. Put it here, we can do a row actually. Put it like so. And we will put you in the middle. Okay, so click to upload a file. And we also need a button. So I'm going to copy the style here so they look similar. Paste the style. Why didn't that work? Anyway, okay. Let's do black, enter 18 here as well. What else? Roundness, maybe 12 then. Too much. These are details, but anyway. 8. Okay. And of course I'm gonna group these into a column. I'm gonna put this group in the middle. And I'm gonna have some elements in between them, row gap, let's say 15. And they can be in the middle. Fit with the content, yes. And there we go. Okay. I will actually put this to like 14 and we will say upload PDF maybe. Okay, so we're gonna, when we actually, first we're gonna like upload a file, but then we're gonna save it. So where's Ranus? I had 8, right? So let's do 8 here as well. And we're gonna do a workflow. So when it's clicked, we have file. Actually, we're gonna create a thing, create a new thing. Do we have a PDF maybe? No. Okay, so let's actually create something in our database. So data types, let's say PDF, and let's say the PDF has a name, just text, and it's gonna have a URL, URL, text. Okay, and now we go back here, create a new thing. We're gonna say PDF, create a PDF, add all fields. Name I don't care about for now. URL is gonna be file, uploaders, value, and that value is gonna be, okay, value is URL then. But the thing with URLs in Bubble is that they don't save like the they save the URL, but they don't save the HTTPS colon. So we need to append that. I don't know why that is actually. Append. Okay, so let's just try this. Okay, whatever. All right, so let's say, it should be a building with rag. Okay, so click to upload a file. I'm gonna use the same file that I've used before, which is the pricing. Okay, open. We will know when it's done when we see the file name here, or some version of the file name. There we go. Now we're gonna upload, and I don't have any feedback now to tell me it's uploaded. So let's go into the database and check. So we say data, app data. We're gonna look at PDFs. And look here, name, URL. Okay, for some reason it didn't append. Oh, it's not append, it's prepend. Okay, I'm stupid. HTTPS. Let's do arbitrary text, HTTPS, and then we have file uploader ACE values URL, and that should get us the right value. So let's redo this. Click to upload file. I'm gonna upload the same. Upload PDF, and we should see in our data, yes, now it's uploaded correctly, HTTPS, and then the entire URL. Now we build on this flow to turn it into this endpoint here. Okay, and I've exposed it as an action. So let's now add LangFlow tutorial, right? Upsert PDF. And the file path is gonna be result of step 1's URL. And the doc name, sorry, my phone is ringing here, just give me a second. And the doc name can be the PDF file's name if we like, or it can just be empty. Okay, and then do I have like a toast or something? Maybe I have a toast is like a notification popping up. So I have some silly, add confetti. What's it called? Actions. Confetti gun. Why can't I say that? Confetti gun. Okay, plugins. I mean, this is silly, but why not? Add confetti element to your page. Okay, sure. So I'm gonna add confetti element to this page. Okay, again, silly, but let's do it. Confetti again. All right, let's try this now again. Click to upload file. Pricing. And here we go. It's gonna load a file, then I'm gonna upload it, and it's gonna run the whole the whole flow now. It's going to create a PDF with URL, and then I'm going to upsert our PDF with this entire flow. So it's going to take the PDF, put it into chunks, turn it into vectors, and then embed those vectors in the Pinecone database. And then with our second flow, we can start asking questions on this PDF. So let's see here and upload PDF. When this is done, we should get the confetti. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is the first part of our flow. Go back to pitch. We have done this upsert document. We now have a flow in Bubble to split PDFs into chunks, turn them into vectors, store them in the vector database. Second flow is going to be building an API endpoint using LangFlow as well to query the database. So ask a question, turn the question into vectors, get some number of responses, and from those responses or results, generate a response to the question. So let's dive into that. Okay, so here we are back in LangFlow, which again is the visual implementation of LangChain. We have done the upserting document part. Now we're going to do the querying part. So we have done this. We are now going to be doing this. All right, so we're going to ask a question, turn that question into a vector, search our vector database with that question, get or retrieve key examples from our database, use the text from those results in the prompt with some instructions. So querying is what we're going to do. I have this pre-built. Let's just check it out what we're going to do. So we're going to have a question. We're going to send a question here. We're going to vectorize it with OpenAI embeddings. Then we're going to ask our database with that vector, what are the most similar results? Then we're going to put them through the question answering chain, and we're going to use GPT-4 in our case to get a response. And the Pinecone, we need an index and we need a namespace. All right, if you are interested exactly what this is, like the retrieval QA and the combined docs chains and so on, please just go into LangChain's documentation. They have a great documentation. There's a lot to learn if you'd like, but it's all based on the OpenAI API. So it's just an abstraction, a very nice one. So I shouldn't say just, but an abstraction and like steps compressed into modules if you'd like. But yeah, this works just like if we would grab the text from the results and put them into the playground and then get an answer similar to this. Okay, so for this we need an endpoint as well. If we click the code here, we can see what we need from the endpoint. So let's go into Bubble. Let's go into our plugins, API connector. We already have our upsert PDF. Now let's say we call this ask PDF. Feels appropriate. Use it as an action. We're going to be posting because we're sending a question to our database. So add header. It's share header. So we don't need that. What we can do instead is go to LangFlow, copy this whole data part. Again, D for data, copy, and then paste in here. Similar to what we've done with the upsert, we are going to be saying that we need a query here. This is going to be the user question, and I'm going to call it query, just like we did previously. Then we have some tweaks, and we are interested in Pinecone here. Now we need a namespace. So I'm going to say namespace, Okay, and what else do we need? We need a namespace, and we also need search parameters, because we're going to be deciding on what number of results, going back to the slide, what number of keys we will need. And if you check out the documentation on Pinecone, you will see that is search search key arguments, but we'll just put it right here. So we are looking at search arguments, and we need a key, which is a number, so I don't need the quotation marks here. And then maybe we should also filter, because maybe we want to ask questions on a specific, like in the index or the namespace, we have a particular document we want to ask questions on. So let's add that as a filter. Okay, so we have, actually we do have more than one then. So we have this filter, and what do I want here? The filter is going to be the doc name. So the filter is going to be doc name. Okay, and let's make sure I close this out. I think we're good to go. So in our example, we are looking at, let's go to LangFlow. Or actually, let's say namespace doc name. Okay, so actually what we're gonna do to test this, we are gonna, when we upsert this, we want a doc name. So just to show this, I'm gonna say doc. Okay, doc. And we're gonna say doc name is doc. Oops, doc. Let's say that k is 10, and namespace I think we can leave empty. And what I want to ask is, how should I price my SaaS? Because it's the same document. How should I price my SaaS? And again, I'm going to untick the private here so we can actually use it in the workflow. Now, of course, we need to upload it with the doc, so I need to redo this, just to make sure that we have the right document that we're referencing. So we're going to do this again. Click the upload file, the pricing PDF, open, load it here, then upsert it with our API workflow. We get the confetti when it's done, maybe a couple of seconds. The suspense. Okay, there we go. If I've done this correctly, we should now get a result. Invalid URL. Well, this is silly. Maybe you saw this before. I put the name where the URL is supposed to be. So open the code here, and this is the URL we need. Copy, paste, initialize. Okay, I made some detailed error. Let's fix it. All right, so there was some comma and some missing brackets, but I just asked ChatGPT to clean up the JSON, and here we are. So yeah, that's it. Of course, you can just print screen this and use it exactly if you'd like. I can also drop this in the comments. Just make sure that you exchange this for whatever values you have. All right, so now we have a question, we have a key, we have a the name doc that we saved our our PDF as in the index at Pinecone. So now if we initialize call and if this works, we should get a response. Takes a few seconds. All right, so here we have show raw data. Now you can see result, it's actually answer to the question. For a SaaS business, the recommended pricing strategy is value-based pricing and so on. This is because in our API here, or in our workflow, we are generating the response using GPT-4. Now, this might not be ideal in all cases, because here we're just generating a response like an average general, chat with PDF or chat based on document sort of workflow, but maybe we want to send specific instructions like how to respond, how the AI should act and so on. So it's not always that you want to generate the response here in LangChain. Maybe you want to do that on the Bubble side, for example. But anyway, so this is the result. Then we have source documents. So these are the chunks. Going back here, the result is the response here, which is generated. But here, use the text from the K most similar results. This is what we're seeing here. So this is a K, right? With metadata, we have doc name and page content. This is the chunk with text. So what we're doing essentially is taking this text, and saying, hey, if you would put this in ChatGPT, like all of this text, and saying, hey, answer this question. And this is the response we get. All right. So now let's build the front end for this in Bubble. So we're going to have a user input. We're going to send a message and we're going to get the response back and serve it on the front end. So we can do this a number of different ways. Let's make the quick and easy one, which is just showing the response here. So what we're going to do is that we are going to be saying, let's create a group. Let us create a group, and just for the sake of me seeing what I'm doing, I'm gonna put like this, and yeah, you can be here, and I'm gonna say row, and this can be in the middle as well. I want some elements, column gap like 50 maybe. And this is going to be the first one. This one is not going to be fixed. It's going to be a column as well, not fixed with, but maybe we need actually no, it should be row. It should be row. Actually, I'm putting these two in a group as well. So these two in the row group. And for this one, I want some padding. So maybe like 25. Okay. And here I am gonna say min height is like 600 maybe for the chat. Make this first. Come on, there we go. Now I also need to add spacing here because I changed the layout a little bit. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna upload a file that I'm gonna ask on this side. Just adding some roundness. I think we went with 8. Let's add a border also. Solid, let's say like a black with some, maybe 5. And let's make this white now. Border is too invisible, maybe 12. Okay. What do I want here? I want an input. So give me an input. Input is standard input. Boom. In this one. And I'm gonna say layout here is gonna be like this. So input's at the bottom. Gonna do padding here as well. 15, 15, 15 maybe. And input does not need to be fixed with. Height can be 48. Let's detach this style. Let's say enter. And let's do black. 16, sure. Input a, let's do a little button. I'm gonna do like this. I'm gonna put these in a group, row. And does this have a minimum width? Yeah, we don't need that. 400. Same here, space between elements. Let's do like 15. Too much. Let's do 8. This one should have the same height. 48 fixed width. We don't need that. We could do it, but maybe like 75. I just want to say send. Send. Ask. Maybe I should say ask. Okay, ask. And when we click ask, we have a question, and then I want the response to be here. So when we click ask, we need a workflow where we actually call on the API we built, and then we're gonna show the response here. So we need something that shows the response. Let's make it simple first. So text. And we're gonna say here again, enter. 16, let's make it black. All right. This one, actually let's put it here instead. Or maybe in this, doesn't matter because it's not visible. Okay, so this is the text. Does not need to be fixed with. Let's say that it is hidden, and let's say that we have a state here. So on this page, I'm gonna add a state, custom state, add new custom state, and I'm gonna say response. And I'm gonna say that this is a text. Great. Okay, and then I'm gonna say when building rags response is not empty. It's not empty. This is visible, and the text is actually the building rags response. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the state to be the response, and I'm gonna show it here. Of course, we can also stream this, but let's just start with this. Okay, so when we click ask, what's gonna happen? Ask, add workflow. When button ask is clicked, we're gonna do LangFlow tutorial. LangFlow tutorial. Did I put it on the wrong place? LangFlow tutorial. Ask PDF. Okay, initialize. I didn't save it, maybe save. Okay. So ask PDF, LangFlow tutorial, ask PDF. Here we go. Yeah, let's use doc that we already have. Query should be input. Come on. Input ace value. Input ace value. All right, let's try it out. Let's try it out. Let's ask the same question. So let's say, how should I price my SaaS? Ask. Let's see. Okay, no. No. Maybe I forgot to check. There should be visible. This element is visible. Not empty. I didn't set a state. Set the state of billing rag, and we're gonna set the response. Of course, this was silly. And then we're gonna say result of step 1, ask PDF, and this is gonna be the result. Let's do it again. So let's ask, how should I price, not price my SaaS? Ask. There we go. For a SaaS business, the recommended pricing strategy is value-based pricing. Blah, blah, blah. So this is now a chat with PDF app. We can ask anything. How can I use value-based pricing? Let's say. Again, this document is all about how to price SaaS products. And we'll see the text change here in a second. All right. To use value-based pricing, you need to follow a few steps. Understand the value you offer, identify your buyer personas, determine willingness to pay, implement and evaluate. And you notice this took us a few seconds. What we could do to make this faster is change to GPT 3.5 or Turbo or things like that, because GPT-4 is quite slow. However, it would be different if we streamed this response. So let's actually stream this response now instead. But essentially, I mean, we're done. We've built a chat with PDF app here. Upload a PDF, ask questions. Okay. But let's stream instead. So I'm gonna add some more padding. I think I want to go with like 25. And vertical alignment, yeah, it can be like that. Maybe it can be visible, but it can be empty, because otherwise, let's just see how that looks. Because I want the chat bar to be at the bottom. Okay, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. Good. So now let's stream instead. For that, there is a great plugin. Great plugin called ChatGPT Toolkit. So download this plugin, ChatGPT Toolkit. Then we need to go to the design here. We need to add a data container for this plugin. And with this, I mean, it's a great plugin. It does like all the things, streaming, functions, whatever. Today, we're just gonna do the streaming version. So we are going to say that after we ask the question, we're gonna say ChatGPT, ChatGPT completion streaming, and the prompt is gonna be give me the answer. And now we're actually feeding the answer from our previous LangChain workflow. I just want to show you how to stream things, and here we can also of course give specific instructions on how it should be, how the response should be formatted, language, format, anything, right? A security token is a two-step process. You use your API key to generate a security token. I'm going to do that here. So security token, create security token. Here is, so create a security token, put the API key here. And then you're gonna say security token, result of step 2, security token. All right. Now let's go into the design. Let's say that the response will be ChatGPT's data containers current message. And let's also say that we, oh, let's just do this. Let's do this. Right, so let's ask, how should I price my SaaS? Okay, let's ask again. Maybe we get a longer response. All right, great. What is value-based pricing? All right, so now we see that we're streaming. We can of course now add things here. Give me the answer. be extremely sarcastic. How should I price my SaaS? Okay, and as you see now we have a chat with PDF file that also does streaming in Bubble. We can of course also say, give other instructions like give me this in Swedish. I'm Swedish, so that's why. And it will likely give me in Swedish. No, let's say answer in Swedish. Need to be clear with these AI large language models. There we go. And yeah, it's good Swedish. Sarcasm, 5 out of 10, but you know, they're still learning. So, okay, summarize how to price a SaaS. So again, when you're just asking questions, asking for things from this document, and now with a sarcastic tone. And yeah, this is it. We've done our whole flow. We can stream. Of course, you can expand this. You know, you could set up a structure for like similar to ChatGPT, but you add a PDF file or PDF files. Like you have chat channels, you have the messaging history, all of that. You can do anything, right? You can put in other data than PDFs and text. You can put in CSVs, you can put in data from URLs, you can do anything. But essentially, we have done this flow. So we've built part 1, upstart document, part 2, query database, and serve it into Bubble. And here is the flow. And again, it works for, I mean, this principle with retrieval augmented generation works for a bunch of different scenarios. So if you can build this, you can build so many things. And yeah, that wraps it up. Again, if you or anyone you know need help building products, check out avalanlabs.co. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I'll see you soon. Bye.